Welcome tonight on this gorgeous night. Thank you so much for coming to Vivi's Vegan Menu. And we have some great food tonight, some awesome tastes. And I wanted to just open, you know, there's so much negativity in this world, and I just wanted to just open with a real quick Bible verse in 3 John 2, and it says, above everything else, I want things to go well with you and for your body to be as healthy as your soul. Isn't that something? The Lord wanted us to have healthy bodies. And when I work as a nurse and I get to go to all different hospitals and do visits with clients. And as I walk through the halls of the hospitals, my heart many times is grieved as I see the status and the obesity and the byproducts of obesity. And again, I just want to emphasize, I do this all the time with my clients when they're working in weight loss. It all starts here, this little tiny hole, you know, in our body. It gets shoveled in, and what are we putting in our body? And with that, how do we think? So, the other thing I wanted to share tonight is that, does anybody know the size of our stomach? Any guesses?
Sounds like the size of your head or something.
You know, you're close, Tim. It's about the size of 4 cups. Is the size of your stomach, which is about a quart jar. So just to show you, depending on the size of your body, now the stomach is a muscle. You can stretch that muscle and it can be bigger, or you can not eat so much and you can shrink this muscle. But as we eat food and we eat more plant-based foods, we are going to fill up this pouch much quicker. If you eat a candy bar with 200 to 300 calories, how much of this space is that going to take up? Not very much. Whereas you eat a whole salad, you're going to fill this space up and not even come close to those calories many times. So I just want to put a plug in again for plant-based food. Okay, tonight what we're going to do, we're going to do a hot artichoke dip. I already have one sitting there for you when we're done that just came out of the oven. But this is so fast and quick to make. How many of you like artichoke dip? I love artichoke dip. But you know what? I have a hard time getting past the calorie count. When I go out to eat at the Italian restaurants or whatever, it's like, oh, look at all those calories. So all this has in it is tofu. It calls for a 12-ounce package of tofu, but I happen to have this, which is a pound plus 2 ounces, and guess what? What did I say about recipes? Do you remember my little comment?
They're just guidance.
They're just guidance. They're suggestions. And so we are going to use this whole thing because it's there. And then the next thing is 2 tablespoons of reduced fat mayonnaise, and I use something called Vegenaise because it's vegan. And also Dijon mustard. Have you seen Dijon mustard before? Okay, so it has a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, so we're going to add those 2 items. So we'll put those here in the Vitamix. And then the next item is 2 tablespoons, or a tablespoon of lemon juice, and I was a little generous with that one. And then garlic. Do you remember me showing you I know Tim wasn't here, but this little sleeve, oh, I love this, to get rid of the garlic outside the peel. It just takes that peeling right off. It's so simple.
I don't remember seeing that one.
I never remember what I show each time, but it takes it, I mean, just zip, and it's off. So, with that, I always like using fresh garlic all the time. Some people buy it, but here again, I just always like fresh. So it calls for 2 cloves of garlic, and guess what? I'm using 4 because I really like garlic. So here again, you can just do suggestions and alter it how you want. Okay, so we have the garlic, and then we're having some, it calls for a half a teaspoon onion powder. Well, there went a whole teaspoon. Here again, do what you want with it. So that's the main base. Instead of having all that high calorie stuff, that's all there is. Okay, I'm going to put Cindy to work. I'm going to have you pour that into there. Okay, and then the next items are going to be some, instead of Parmesan cheese, do you remember what we've talked about in the past? Nutritional yeast. And do you remember what nutritional yeast is high in? B12. Yes, B12. So I use nutritional yeast a lot. And you're excused. While she's putting that in there, we're just gonna sprinkle this nutritional yeast in, which is a half a cup. And then it calls for some artichoke. So we have this already cut up. I'm gonna put that in there. And then a cup of frozen spinach. I'm going to have my Cinderella mix this, and then we're going to put it in the oven for 20 minutes.
Did you squeeze the liquid out of the spinach before?
I did not. And so to accommodate for that, you may need to bake it a little longer, which I did. It calls for 20 minutes, but I did it close to 30. So 400 degrees for that one. Wasn't that simple? Wait till you taste it. Oh, and tonight I have some new chips for you to try. It's so much fun because Costco is always bringing out new chips. And so tonight is organic sweet potato chips. And then the other one is a rice with other grains. And then what we're going to do when she's all done is sprinkle it with some dusting of paprika. And this is what it's going to look like when you get it all baked. Isn't that beautiful? And it is so good. It is delicious. So, okay. That's that one.
Is the Annie's mustard vegan as well? Does it have?
That is an awesome question. It is. It just has vinegar, water, mustard seed, sea salt, and cloves. Great question. So, all right. This next one is even easier. This is a soup that I make quite a bit because it is so easy and quick. My poor mother, I'm sure, is totally sick of it. Because we eat it so much. Okay, this is Syrian red lentil soup. Have you had that at some of the Greek places? The red Syrian lentil soup? Oh, yeah. So all this has is a couple tablespoons of oil. And do I measure? I sure do, just like that. Okay, so it has the oil, and again, it has the garlic. And I'm going to get my little tool because I like the garlic to be fresh, and I already peeled these before, right before you walked in. And it calls for a half a teaspoon of garlic, but you can see we're quite generous with the garlic. I always use a lot of garlic. Anybody know what garlic is good for?
Improved prostate.
Okay. It's also a natural antibiotic. So I do a lot of garlic. 2 teaspoons of thyme. Usually I double this recipe, which is what's on the counter over there. It's doubled. So 1, 2 of this one. And then a teaspoon of cumin. Gives it a wonderful flavor. And this one I always get real generous on the cumin too. 2 teaspoons of salt. And tell me about salt. What's the difference between the regular salt in the store and some of these? Do you remember?
Minerals in this.
Yes, yes. This one is not devoid of all the minerals. It's not stripped. So I always use this kind. Or Hawaiian, the Himalayan pink salt. Okay, so there's 2 teaspoons of that. And then a cup and a half, I measured this. This is a cup and a half of the lentils. Aren't those cool? You can just kind of look at those for something different. There's different kinds of lentils. There's red lentils like that. There's green lentils, brown lentils, and they all have different nutritional components. That's why it's good to make different recipes. And then it calls for 6 cups of water. And I measured this out ahead of time. And again, I usually try and store everything in glass. Much, much better than plastic. Okay, that's your soup. The end. And what I do in the evening, I'll put this together. I'll put it on low, or sometimes even warm. It cooks all night on a low temp, and by morning, for breakfast, you are ready to take that with you for your lunch. So simple. So, I hope you will make that, and you can try that here shortly. And the last thing we're going to do tonight is make some cookies.
Cookies?
Here again, this one is so, I'll let you take that, thank you. This one too is so simple. A friend of mine gave me this recipe. This is, we call them oatmeal cookies. And, you know, sometimes you'll have bananas that are getting just a little ripe. In fact, they could even be riper than this. But this one calls for 2 ripe bananas. You can almost do this as a cereal in the morning. Aren't those birdies pretty, singing out there? Love it. So, and I use this little gadget a lot. So it's nice and creamy. And we'll put that in this bowl. And then a cup of oatmeal. Gonna throw that in there. 2 tablespoons of raisins. A heaping tablespoon of natural peanut butter. Is that heaping enough? And then the other thing I like to throw in, if you have some cacao chips, cacao, however you say it, this particular time I have some carob chips. And I don't know if you've heard of carob before. Carob is from the, what plant is it? What plant is the carob from? Locust. It's from the locust plant. In the Bible, John talks about the locust, and that is the carob. And so when you look at the difference between carob and chocolate, cacao that I use is very high antioxidant, but it does have caffeine because it's a raw form of cocoa. And so for people that are sensitive to that, it might be a little touchy. So people that don't want any caffeine would not eat cacao or cacao. So for them, we do carob chips. So this is the batter. You're gonna bake this for 350 for about 25 minutes, and you've got cookies. And we have got those too that we've got ready for you to try. Any questions? Is that not simple? These are really good too. I can't wait for
Could
you
you
to try
use
them.
almond butter for people that don't like
Absolutely. Cashew butter, almond butter. Have you ever tried cashew butter?
Yes.
I love it. Yeah. Talk about high in fat. Anyway, any other questions? No? Awesome. Well, thank you again for taking time out of your schedule and coming to Vivi's Vegan Venue. Until next time, bye.